everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about different types of ways we can represent lines. So we're not going to be using that symbolic notation yet. We'll be using that in the next video. This is just the vocabulary that you'll need for some of your geometry units. So you need to know the difference between a line segment, a ray, a point, an angle, a vertex, and your different types of lines, so parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and intersecting lines. So that's what we're focused on in this video. So we're going to go ahead and get started with lines. So if you're in one of my classes, these worksheets are also posted on Google Classroom if you would like your own copy to take notes on. If not, you can go ahead and copy it right from here. So for the first one, it says a line is, and then it gives you three different definitions or three different choices for the definition of a line. So a line is a straight path that goes on forever in both directions with no endpoints. So that means a line will continue extending. And the way we show that is we draw an arrow on the end. So here's an example of a line. It's going to continue in both directions. That's what that arrow shows. And it's going to go on forever. As long as it's a straight line, it can be pointing any direction. So I could have it vertically. You could have a diagonal line. Those arrows on the end are what shows me the line. So I know that this is a line that's going to extend to the right and to the left for all of these. Now, when you label a line, you do put a point on it so that we can label it. So I'm just going to show you what that will look like. So a point is just a point on the line. Because there's arrows here, it's not a stopping point, or it's not an end point, it's just a point. And then you can use a capital letter, any capital letter you want. So we could call this line X, Y. So that's what it will look like when it's labeled. Okay, moving on to the next one. A line segment is a part of a line that has an endpoint on both ends. So that would be choice A. A line segment is just a piece of a larger line. So here's what a line segment looks like. It has an endpoint on the left end and on the right end. So again, it can be horizontal, it can be vertical, it can be diagonal, as long as it's a straight line with endpoints on both ends. And if you wanted to label those endpoints, you would just use a capital letter. So that would be line segment AB. But again, we'll get to more of that notation in the next video. This is just showing you what they look like. The next one is a ray. A ray is part of a line that goes on forever in only one direction. So this is how we draw a ray. I have my endpoint and then an arrow on the other side to show that that's going to continue going to the right forever. They can be pointed any way, as long as you have an endpoint on one side and an arrow on the other. So those are all examples of a ray. The next one says a point is an exact location on a plane. So think of it this way, a point is just an exact place on that line segment, or that ray. So all a point looks like is this. In all of these examples, I have a point so that you can see them. So again, for the line up here, I had to put a point that I could label. So I had to add a point to my line. So this is all a point looks like. You can label it with a capital letter. I could call this point C. I can draw another one over here. I can call that point D. And then I can draw another one over here. Anywhere in space is a point. Okay, so now we're going to focus on different types of lines. So parallel lines are lines that never cross, and they are equally spaced. So they're equally spaced lines that are never going to cross over each other. So if you're drawing a pair of parallel lines, you can draw them horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. But my first example is going to be horizontal. So these lines will extend both on the left and on the right. So they'll extend in both directions forever, but they will never touch because they're equally spaced and they're never going to cross. So there's one example. You could draw them vertically or diagonally as well. Intersecting lines are lines that cross only once. So intersecting lines could look like this. Notice how my lines are kind of slanted. Here's where they intersect. They're only crossing one time. So this line is going to extend like this forever in both directions. This one's going to extend like this in both directions. Since they're straight lines, they're never going to touch again. They only cross over that one time. And now at the bottom, perpendicular lines are lines that cross at a right angle. So perpendicular lines are a special type of intersecting lines. So they have their own specific category because when they cross, they form a 90-degree angle. So a 90-degree angle would form like a perfect T. So in this corner right here, where both of these lines meet, forms a 90-degree angle. It's marked with a symbol that's a little square like that. So here's an example of lines that are perpendicular. These lines are going to continue forever in opposite directions, and they only cross this one time. And right here, they form perfect 90-degree angles. So if you were to hold a Post-it note or something, or a piece of paper into that corner, that angle, it would fit perfectly. That's a 90-degree angle. So lines that cross to form 90-degree angles, right angles, are called perpendicular. They're special intersecting lines. And now there's a couple more things I want to show you for vocabulary. Sometimes you're going to see things that look like this. You're going to have a line going this way. You're going to have a ray coming out of this line going like this. I'm going to label a few points here just so you can see. So you're going to see diagrams like this. Right here in purple, where I drew that symbol, that shows me that's an angle. So that's an angle. Now, if that was straight up and down, it would be a right angle, but it's not. It's smaller than a right angle. And then on the opposite side right here, where this ray intersects this line, that's also an angle. That's just a larger angle. So an angle is formed by two rays that connect at a common endpoint. So right here, that point would be point A. That point is also called the vertex. So that point A, right here, I'm going to circle it in blue and draw an arrow. That's the vertex. So an angle is formed by two rays that connect at that common or the same common endpoint. And where they connect gives you that vertex.